A warm good evening. A warm good evening to all the members.
Good evening.
Sir, it is already 6:44. Still, I take 1 minute to thank the Tirupur branch for having both of us here today. How this happened is that Ramu sir's close friend Saravanan sir, he was the one who initiated us to take this presentation. Being youngsters, this is a great opportunity for us. So we thank Tirupur branch and managing committee from the bottom of our hearts. Now, already it is late, so directly I am moving on to the presentation. The topic which I have chosen today is job work. This job work is not a new concept which has arisen in GST. It was there long back and it is known by different names in different industries. And Tirupur being a industrial area, this type of arrangement is very common. So we believe that this topic is of very importance, especially in place like Tirupur, where the majority of the clients will be somewhat in the middle level or on a small scale level. The problem being that documentation may not be always very proper. So we being chartered accountants, we have to advise them in such a manner that they are able to comply the law and have proper documentation, so that just like sir told, when notices comes at midnight also, சரி காலைல பார்த்துக்கலாம் சொல்லி நமக்கு தூங்க முடியணும், நிம்மதியா தூங்க முடியணும். So that is the main purpose why documentation and the compliance part has to be taken care of. This in pharmaceutical industry, this job work arrangement is very common, wherein it is known as contract manufacturing. Similarly, in Indian made foreign liquor, this is called bottling contract. Bottle and the label will be provided by one party. The contents that go into it will be done by some other party. Like this, various types of arrangement are there. In textile also, being Manchester of India, Tirupur being the Manchester of India, textile is a very common industry here. In textile industry also, this type of arrangement is very common, wherein cutting, stitching, etc. will be done on a job work basis. Under the erstwhile regime, that is before the introduction of GST, we had central excise duty on manufacturing of goods. And on rendering services, there was service tax through Finance Act. Under the erstwhile regime also, this type of job work arrangement was taxable event. We know that in excise duty, the manufacturing is the taxable event. So if there is a manufacturing, the person who manufactures, he has to pay the excise duty. Now, in case of job work arrangement, the question which arises is, who is the manufacturer? I am having some input. I am sending this input to some other person for manufacturing. He is manufacturing the goods and he is either sending it back to me or he is sending directly to my clients. So who is the manufacturer here? Am I the manufacturer or is he the manufacturer? So this issue was not provided for in the Central Excise Act. Unlike the GST Act, Central Excise Act did not have any specific provision for job work arrangement. Under the Central Excise, there was one notification, 119/1975. That 1975 was the first year in which this job work arrangement was recognized also. And as per that notification, what it said was, the job worker was liable to pay excise duty. So if the arrangement, if I am sending my goods to him, and if he is doing some process which amounts to manufacture as per the excise law, then he was the person who is the manufacturer and he was liable to pay the excise duty. So what happens is that, take example of agarbatti industries. These are all made in handmade in small industries, cottage industries. What happened is that all these people, they were under the tax net now. They had to take registration and pay the excise duty. Whereas these brand owners or the original manufacturers, they were not liable to pay. Then subsequently in 1986, notification number 214 of 1986 was introduced, wherein they gave an exemption. Exemption is that if the person who is sending the input, who is the original manufacturer, if he is paying the excise duty, then the job worker need not pay the excise duty. This was the exemption given. So now the small scale industries, they were relieved because now the original manufacturer can pay the excise duty and clear the goods. So this was when the job work arrangement was of the nature of manufacture. What if it's not a manufacturer? Let us say that he is only doing the labeling or he is doing only the packing. Now that is not a manufacturing activity. In such cases, what would happen? So this is purely a supply of service. It is purely a supply of service, and the job worker was liable to pay service tax. So there again, in the mega exemption notification, an entry was introduced saying that if the principal manufacturer, if he is paying excise duty on the goods, then the service provider need not pay service tax. Why? Because when I am paying the excise duty, on what value I am paying excise duty, including the value which he has provided to me. So why he should pay service tax first? I should take SENVAT credit, then I pay excise duty again. No need. On his value also, including his value, you are paying excise duty. So exemption is given to the job worker from service tax. So this was the position before introduction of GST. So two types of transactions were there. Job work which amounts to manufacture, job work which does not amount to manufacture. If it amounts to manufacture, job worker was liable to pay excise duty. Exemption was given if the principal is paying the excise duty. If it's not amounting to manufacturer, then it is liable to service tax. If job worker is paying, the job worker is liable to pay the service tax. If manufacturer is paying excise duty, exemption was given to job worker. This was the arrangement. Under the GST law, we know that both this services and manufacture was clubbed together. Now we have only one act for both these services as well as goods. This goods and service tax. Under the GST Act, the levy is not on manufacture, levy is not on service rendering, it is on supply. And supply has been specifically defined in section 7 of the Act also. That being the case, there was a requirement for a specific provisions related to job work. How this job work is to be treated, how this job work is to be documented, and who is going to pay the tax, etc. So that is going to be the agenda for today's presentation. How job work is going to be treated under GST law. First and foremost, what we have to see is the definition given for job work under the GST law. I'm just reading the definition, section 268. Job work means any treatment or process. Now I am just going back to the job work under excise. There it was on manufacture. Here it is what? It is any treatment or process. Need not amount to manufacture. It could also amount to manufacture. But the crux is that there should be any treatment or process undertaken by a person on goods belonging to another registered person. That means, suppose I am giving the goods to job worker, I have to be a registered person. Only then that the arrangement will be called job work. What will happen if I am not registered? This we will deal in the subsequent slide. We will see in the classification. For the definition of job work, we have to understand that the principal is the person who is sending the goods for job work. Principal has to be compulsorily registered under GST. Only then that arrangement is called job work arrangement. The person who does this job work, he is called as job worker. Now, let us see some transactions and let us check whether these transactions will amount to job work or not, whether it will fall within the scope of job work or not. First one is a manufacturing. I am giving some goods, I am having some materials, I am giving these materials to the job worker. That job worker is doing some manufacturing process. What is manufacturing? From the definition, we can know that there has to be change in the character of the product. That is, One input is going and one finished goods has to come out. The same goods is going and same goods is coming out. It is not manufacture. In manufacture, there has to be necessarily a new goods, a new product with different characteristics coming out. So suppose I am giving some goods, he is doing some process and a new goods is coming out. Whether that transaction is treated as job work. So under GST, the word is any treatment or process that can amount to job, that can amount to manufacture, that may not be manufacture also. So even manufacturing is amounting to job work arrangement. And this view has been held in advanced rulings also. In this JSW, JSW Energy Limited, what happens is that there is one entity called JSW Steels. JSW Steels is giving coal to JSW Energy. JSW Energy is converting that coal into electricity and giving this electricity back through grid. Now the question which came up was whether this is a job work arrangement. We have to understand what is the input going, coal is going. What is coming out, electricity is coming out. Even in this case, the advanced ruling authority, that is appellate authority for advanced ruling, held that advanced ruling authority did not agree. They said it is not job work, it is a different product, so it cannot be considered as job work. On appeal, appellate authority confirmed that even this transaction is a job work arrangement. On this coal which JSW Steel is sending, they are doing some treatment or they are doing some process and new product is coming out. That is also treated as job work. In another case, that is BPCL, Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, they were sending some goods, mainly this regasified liquefied natural gases. That is, after LPG is derived, it is in a liquid stage. Again, it is made into a gaseous stage and it is sent through pipeline. Mineral water, demineralized water, then hydrogen-rich gases. All these were sent for manufacturing to another entity. And this manufactured goods was received back to BPCL. Here also the process amounts to manufacture, and the advanced ruling authority held that even manufacturing is considered as job work. The product which is going out may be in liquid stage or gaseous stage, and what is coming back, it may be in some other stage. It will be in solid stage or liquid stage. Even then it will be considered as job work. Same product need not come back. Now in this third case is in case of SB Resellers Private Limited. This is a little bit controversial judgment. I will just briefly say the facts. Then you can give your views on that. Then we'll have a discussion on that. What is happening is that in case of sugar mills, for manufacturing sugar, there is one roller, and roller is there. Inside that roller, sugar will be put and it will spin. This is the thing. So this roller to be inserted, there is a shaft. I am purchasing a shaft. I am having only a shaft. I am sending this shaft to Prasad for job work or for treatment. What Prasad is doing is that he is making this roller and he is fitting that roller in the shaft and he is sending it back to me. This is the activity Prasad is doing. I am clearing the goods. I am giving a bare shaft to Prasad. Prasad is inserting the roller. Is this activity job work or not? Forget the AR. What is our logic says? Is this job work or not? For the benefit of members, I am putting the definition. Let us see the definition and let us see whether it is a job work or not. It says that any treatment or process. Is he doing a treatment or process? He is definitely doing a treatment or process on goods belonging to another registered person, assuming I am registered. What I am sending forged, this shaft I am sending. This shaft is a goods or not? It's a goods. It's a job work or not? It's a job work. This is all AIR has to say. Now this, we have to understand that word used is not input. Word used is not capital goods. What is the word used? Goods. Goods includes capital goods also. Anything which is movable. Anything which is movable is capital goods, goods, except for money and security. That is the definition given. What I am sending is goods. It is a job work. AR is of a different view. AR is of the view that only if I am sending my input and he is doing some treatment on that and he is sending it back, that will amount to job work. Here, what am I sending? I am sending my capital goods because this is used for manufacturing sugar. Sugar is my trading goods or my manufacturing goods. This roller is my capital goods. So for manufacturing this roller, I am sending these goods. Hence, it is not a job work. This is the view given by AAR, which I very respectfully disagree. For the reason that definition does not distinguish between inputs and capital goods. In this case, what they have held is that what he is giving back, it's a new product. So it is a sale of goods. They have said that he is selling me roller. And this value of roller, that will include the value of shaft which I have given him also. Valuation also they have given. So this is the decision of the advanced ruling which I respectfully disagree. In my humble opinion, it is also a job work because I am giving him some goods. He is doing some treatment or process. He is sending it to me. That is all required for the definition. Next, before going to this advanced rulings, I am just giving another example. This laptop, this is assuming this is my laptop. This laptop, there is some damage. It is not working. Now this laptop I am sending to Prasad. Prasad is doing some repairs and he is giving back to me. Prasad is doing some repairs and giving back to me. Whether this amounts to job work? Simple question, sir. This laptop is damaged. I am giving this laptop to Prasad. He is doing some repairs and giving back to me. Whether this will amount to job work or not. Definition. Any treatment or process, goods belonging to registered person, assuming I am registered. Not job work. Why, sir? No, in the definition, they have only mentioned goods. That is why we disagreed with the previous advanced ruling. Advanced ruling is of the view that it should be input. But I am of different opinion because the word used is only goods. It's a repairs and maintenance. Let us see the definition. It says that any treatment or process. He is doing some treatment or process.
He is rectifying the already produced goods, not creating new goods.
Very correct, sir. It is, though it is, he is doing a treatment or process. It is actually, we can bring it into job work. Why? He is doing a process. He is doing some treatment or process. Okay, and it is also my goods. What is the treatment or process he is doing? The nature of the treatment is that he is doing some repairs. Now, in the previous one, when I am giving the shaft and he is putting the rollers, it is not repairs. It is not repairs. It is a new shaft I am giving. In that new shaft, he is adding something and giving back to me. That is why I was of the opinion that it is job work. Here there is already produced goods. Already produced goods. Another example which you will understand more easily. You are wearing one shirt. One button is gone. You are giving to the tailor. Tailor is giving back to you. What is the service? He is only repairing. He is only adding this button. Wearable shirt is with you. Only one button is missing. He is correcting that and giving back to you. You are buying clothes. You are giving for stitching and he is giving back to you. The entire activity is different. He is giving something different. So that is the same difference here. In case of repairs and maintenance services, though goods are being sent and treatment is done by the job worker, the treatment is of such nature that it is only rectifying, it is only repairing what is already existent. Here a laptop is already existent, only some repairs is done by him. For repairs, he may use his some parts also. Sometimes he may put his own parts also for repairing and he will give it back to me. But it is not a job work because predominant nature of the activity is repairs. The purpose for which I am giving is not for job work but for repairs. The purpose which it is given has to be seen. Now, both this advanced ruling. The first one is in the same case, SB shellers only, same case, different advanced ruling. What they were giving is that they were already having this roller. That roller they are using for many years. Now that has become unusable. This unusable rollers they are giving. Prasad is repairing it and giving back. Now it becomes usable rollers. They have said that it is only repairs and maintenance services. Similarly, in this Alok Banuka also, what they held is it is only a repairs and maintenance services, transformers. Already existing transformers which were damaged was given for repairs. These people were repairing it and giving back. Here the activity is only repair. The intention for which it is given is for repairs and not for job work. Next question. Again, I am giving an example. Ice cream, stick ice cream. We all know stick ice cream. Only stick I am having. This stick I am giving to Prasad. This condensed milk, flavor, color, wrapper, everything Prasad is putting. And ice cream he is giving back to me. Whether this activity is job work or not. This is my next question. Only stick I am giving. Condensed milk that goes for the ice cream, the flavor, the color, etc. Everything.
He is also putting some material, sir.
So he is putting the major input, right?
Major input he is
Marginal
putting.
commodity is
He is putting the input. Again, let us see the definition. What is the definition saying? Any treatment or process. Any treatment or process. Is he doing treatment or process? Yes. Am I sending goods? This Kuchi is a goods. I am sending goods. I am assuming I am registered. Then why, sir, it is not job work?
But major part of the
Sir,
belongs to him, sir.
definition, is there anything said that job worker cannot put, a job worker can put, anything is mentioned? The definition, anything is mentioned. Again, I am not enforcing my views upon you. In all these cases, I am not enforcing my view upon you. I am just improving the thought process. Ipdi review paakalama. Only that I am saying. Stick also, sir. It is also job work. Sir, in my opinion, it is job work. Why I am telling you? Let us see the legal aspect. What are the judgments, and then we'll see the logical aspect. Legal aspect is that there is one circular. Circular says that the job worker is expected to work on the goods sent by principal, and whether that activity is covered within the scope of job work or not would have to be determined on the basis of facts and circumstances of each case. Further, it is clarified that job worker, in addition to the goods received by the principal, can use his own goods for providing the service of job work. So the circular clarifies that job worker can put his own goods also. Here he is putting milk, etc. He can put his own. So that is covered by the circular also. In the STL regime, there was one Supreme Court judgment, which was directly on the lines as our respected members said, that is prestige engineering, wherein they said that majority of the goods are put by the job worker, then it is not job work arrangement. He becomes actually the manufacturer. Whether I am the manufacturer or not, he is also doing manufacturing. This view was there in the Central Excise regime, Supreme Court judgment, prestige engineering. Later, this view was nullified. This view was nullified by two other decisions, subsequent decisions, which said that this prestige engineering does not have relevance, regardless of how much material he is putting. If the arrangement is job work, then it is only a job work arrangement. My considered view also, this will hold good, regardless of how much quantity of goods he is putting. If I am sending the inputs and he is working on that input, he is doing some treatment or process, then it would amount to job work. When we see the classification, that is, we know that for classifying we have SAC code. When we see the SAC code, its explanation, this concept will become little bit more clear. Still, I think some members will not agree with me, but when we see the classification part, this concept will become more clear. But the point I want to convey here is that regardless of the quantity of materials the job worker is putting, it should be treated as job work. Now, this is another example, bus body building. Now, this bus lorries, etc., what happens is that only the chassis manufacturer will supply. Ashok Leyland or Tata Motors, they will supply only a bare chassis. Then this bus owner, they will have to go to a job worker or called as bus body builder. He will put the bus body into this bus and give it as a finished product. Now this, I am not going by the slide. Practically what happens is that there are two types of transaction possible. One is that he is already having a bus body and he is just putting it into the chassis. Other is that based on this chassis, he is building the body. These two types are possible. Ready-made is there. Another one is based on this chassis, he is building also. So this ready-made, if he is doing, that is a supply of goods. And that will be taxable at 28%. If he is making as per the requirement, if I am giving him the chassis, based on my requirement, he is doing some treatment or process and he is doing some job work, then that becomes a job work. So ready-made, it is classified as supply of goods. Otherwise, it is classified as service, job work service. There are some advanced ruling also, which are based on this circular and this whatever principle I just told. That is the same advanced ruling only. Now we are moving on to the procedural aspects of job work. What are the, how input as credit will go, who can send the goods, what can send the goods, etc. As I mentioned earlier, the person who is sending the goods is known as principal. The person who is going to do the work is known as job worker. Now it can sometimes happen that some process will require more than one job worker. For example, Prasad will be doing only cutting. Dyeing I have to give to Sharanya or someone else. So there can be two or more job worker involved also. So this job work arrangement, the principal can send goods to one job worker. After that, the goods can move to another job worker and then another job worker like that. It need not come back to principal each time. That is also recognized in the act itself. In the section itself, it is recognized that there can be more than one job worker. Now, whether the goods I have to first receive in my factory or go down, then send it to the job worker, or directly from my supplier I can send it to the job worker. Directly also I can supply it to the job worker. There is no requirement that first it has to come to my factory and then go. Now if you see section 16, what is the section 16 says about input as credit? Section 16(2) has 4 conditions. First, there should be an invoice. Second one, the goods must be actually received. Third one, the supplier must have paid the taxes to the government. And the last one is that person who is taking the credit must have filed the return. Now there is one more condition that it has to be reflected in 2A, 2B, etc. We are not going into that. The second condition is that goods or service must be actually received. Now what happens? I am the principal, Sir is the supplier, Sir is supplying goods directly to Prasant. It is not coming to my factory at all. Can I take the credit? Second condition says that goods has to be actually received. I am not actually receiving the goods. So there is an issue. This issue is solved in the section 19, which says that if the goods are directly going to the job worker, principal can take the credit. Whatever goods is going to him, I can take the input as credit without the goods actually being received by me. Not only goods, even sometimes capital goods also. Prasad may not have the finance required. What I will do is that I will source the capital goods. The bill will be in my name. I am buying the capital goods, but it will directly go to Prasad's factory. Prasad will do the job work and he will return the goods and capital goods back to me. This can also happen. So wherever I am saying goods, it includes input as well as capital goods also. Now, can I send the goods for any time? Is there any time limit or is it indefinite? There is a time limit fixed. When the goods are directly sent to Prasad, or if I am sending goods to Prasad, he has to do the job work and return it back to me within 1 year. In case of inputs, the time limit given is 1 year. For capital goods, he can take 3 years time. So today I am sending the capital goods means after 3 years, up to 3 years, he can use the capital goods. At the end of third year, he has to return this capital goods back to me. This is the condition. If inputs I am sending, then he has to return it back to me within 1 year. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes there will be more than one job worker. So is this 1 year combined for all the job worker together, or for each job worker I will get 1 year? What is members' view on this?
Combined for all job workers.
Combined. Sir, again, I have a difference of opinion. This is not clarified in the act. This is purely discussion. So what happens because one job worker delays? What happens? Suppose I am sending for cutting. Due to some reason, he is taking delay. So he takes 9 months time. Next job worker will get only 3 months time. So it will be disproportional. In my opinion, the 1 year should be given for each job worker. Each job worker. Because suppose there is only one job worker, he is getting 1 year time. So suppose 2 job worker means each job worker should get 1 year time from the date on which they are receiving the goods. That will be giving more benefit to the assessee. Otherwise, what happens is that suppose one job worker delays, the entire process will get delayed, and within the short period, you have to receive the goods back. That may not be a very practical view. In my practical opinion, I think there should be 1 year for each job worker. Again, it is not clarified, it is only my humble opinion. Now, this capital goods does not include molds, dies, jigs, fixtures, or tools. That means sometimes when in plastic or something, there will be mold, cast iron, etc. There will be mold. On this mold, this liquid stage metal will be poured, and that will solidify to become the product. So this mold, etc. Though they are capital goods, they do not have any time limit given. So for this mold, dies, jigs, etc., there is no time limit. Indefinitely, it can be with the job worker. All other capital goods, the time limit is 3 years. Within 3 years, it has to be returned back to the principal. Now, when will this 3 years be computed? Suppose I am getting the goods and I am sending the goods means I know from the date I am sending the goods to him, this 3 years has to be calculated. If directly goods are sent to job worker, from which date this 3 years has to be calculated? From the day or date of receipts of input by the job worker. Which date he is receiving, from that date, this 3 years has to be calculated. Or 1 year has to be calculated. Next question is, what happens if I do not receive the goods back within this 1 year or 3 years? What happens is that, this is very important point. From the day, on the day which I am sending the goods to him, on that day, it will be deemed that I have sold the goods to him. Not on the expiry of 1 year, but on the day I am sending the goods to him. On that day, it will deemed to be sold. And till the period, till the expiry of 1 year, I have to pay interest also. 1 year interest also I have to pay. So this, we have to be very careful that when in a job work arrangement, the goods or capital goods are received within the time limit. Otherwise, on the day in which these goods are sent, it will be deemed to be a sale. Now, there is some relaxation given. If there is a sufficient cause, for example, COVID was there, it is a sufficient cause. If the commissioner feels that it is a sufficient cause due to COVID, there was lockdown, etc., this 1 year is expiring, I cannot send during this COVID period, he can extend it further. For goods, he can extend up to another 1 year. For capital goods, he can extend up to another 2 years. So, effectively, input will get 2 years time. 1 year statutory time plus 1 year extended time. Capital goods will get 3 years statutory time plus 2 year extended time. Up to 2 year extended time. The last point is that suppose after the job work, I have to sell these goods to the customers. Should I receive the goods back to me and sell it to the customer, or directly from job worker I can sell it to the customer? Directly from job worker also possible, provided few conditions are there. What is the condition? Either job worker should be registered. Either the job worker should have the registration. So he is also having this limit of 20 lakh, 40 lakh, etc. If he is less than the limit, he is unregistered. What happens? His premises should be added as my additional place of business. And the last point is that if I am dealing in notified goods, if the goods which are notified by the government, I am dealing in those goods, then I can directly clear without satisfying this condition also, as so far no goods has been notified. Now while discussing this, one practical issue raised in my mind. How will you show additional place of business? Suppose he is in Tamil Nadu, I am in Kerala. Can I add a registration in Tamil Nadu as my additional place of business? It is not possible. It is not possible. So I should have a registration in Tamil Nadu, only then I can add additional place of business. This point also you have to be careful. So where there is interstate arrangement, better the job worker is registered. Otherwise, you will have to register in that state and then add as additional place of business. That means you will have to find a premises for your registration. You have to pay rent there, etc. All this issue will be there. So while entering into interstate arrangement, better the job worker is registered.
Is it that we cannot even clear scrap from job workers if he is not registered?
He can clear, sir, without going to this issue, he can clear, but then we will have to pay the tax on that. It is as if we have supplied.
Scrap means directly sending to the customer.
The scrap, whatever he suppose he is doing the job work means whatever left over, he is directly sending to the clients. If he is registered, he has to pay tax on that. Otherwise, it will be deemed as if you are supplying, and we will have to pay tax on the scrap. So, sir's point is this: we have to keep proper accounts. Only then the scrap. If job worker is not registered, how will we know how much scrap he has sold? So the primary responsibility is on the principal. Even when the job worker is registered, primary responsibility is on the principal. Principal has to maintain accounts. Section 143 only says that principal has to maintain accounts. Then we have to go to section 35, read with rule 56, etc. What are the accounts to be maintained? How much goods you are sending? Stock register, basically stock register. How much goods you are sending? What is the wastage? What is the scrap? How much scrap is sold? How much is returned back? Etc. All these records has to be maintained by whom? By the principal. Principal has to maintain these records. What is the time limit for maintenance of accounts? Again, section 36 we have to see 72 months from the due date of filing the annual returns. So 17-18 annual return was only in 2019. The time limit was only in 2019 or 2020. So from 2020 we have to see 72 months for 17-18. 72 months means 6 years from 2019-20 we have to see. So for this period we have to maintain accounts, and if there is any appeal, anything pending, then 1 year from the date of this order, final order, we have to maintain the accounts. So whichever is higher, that will be the period for which we have to maintain this records. Next point, any scrap or waste generated during the job work may be supplied by the job worker directly from his place of business on payment of tax. If job worker is registered, if job worker is not registered, principal will have to pay the tax. In case of scrap, if job worker is registered, on that scrap, job worker will have to pay tax. Otherwise, it will be deemed that principal is supplying the scrap and principal has to pay tax on that. For that purpose only, we have to maintain this accounts, etc. Otherwise, we will get notice. If we get notice, how will we say that I have not sold any scrap? They will only allege, saying that this is the goods you have received. 20% is waste, 10% is the waste. Pay tax on that. How will we say that there is not much scrap? For that, you have to maintain records. it is very important that principal maintains the record for job work. Now, whether the job worker is required to take registration. As I mentioned, job worker is only a supplier. He is also a supplier. So the supplier being supplier of service, he will have a limit of, we know that there are two limits, 40 lakh and 20 lakh. 40 lakh is for persons who are exclusively dealing in goods and 20 lakh is for supplying services. This job work is actually a service. So he will have the limit of 20 lakhs. If that limit exceeds 20 lakhs, he will have to compulsorily take registration. Next point is that what about interstate? We know that for selling goods interstate, this 40 lakhs limit is not applicable. Even for 1 rupee interstate sale, he has to take registration. However, in case of services, many are not aware of this notification. Even 1 week, till 1 week back, I was also not aware of this notification. There is one notification which says that in case of services, even for interstate services, 20 lakh limit is applicable. So only even if I am making interstate supply of services up to 20 lakh, I do not need to take registration. From job workers' perspective, whether it is intrastate or interstate, only when the limit exceeds 20 lakh, he need to take the registration. That is the point I want to convey here. But as I mentioned earlier, if it is interstate job work, if you are going to clear the goods directly from his place, this additional place of business is going to be a problem. Better insist on getting the job worker registered. As I mentioned, job worker is a supplier of service. Because I am sending the goods, he is doing some treatment. Whatever treatment or process he is doing, he has to involve some labor, skill, etc. For that, he will bill me. That is called the job work charges. This job work charges is liable to GST as service. He has to raise an invoice. So all the provisions related to place of supply, time of supply, etc. will be applicable. And valuation as per section 15. We are not going to that in detail. Section 15, we know the transaction value is giving the importance. So any ancillary activity will be also added to the transaction value. Any transportation, etc. will be added to the transaction value. Discount, there is post-supply discount, pre-supply discount. All those we have to consider, and that will be the value. And this value of molded, etc. It is clarified that this value of mold, etc., which I am giving to the job worker, that will not be added to the value of supply, because that is mainly in the nature of consumables. Actually, it is my goods I am giving for the job worker, but due to the nature of that dies or mold, etc., he is not returning back to me because that will get damaged. That is why he is not returning back to me. That need not be added to the job worker's charges, because while fixing my price, I will be already including that price also. I am buying that mold, jigs, etc. So while factoring my cost, I will be including that. So it need not be again added by the job worker. Next is the interesting issue related to classification and rate of tax. This will take some time. Already it is 7:30. I am sorry because we started late. I just thought, okay. This classification, first issue which is arising is, like I mentioned earlier, job worker is also putting goods into it. So whether it is a supply of goods or supply of service, both service is there, both goods is there. Under GST, there is a concept called composite supply. So what is this composite supply? When two or more services are, or one or more goods and services, all these are combined together, naturally bundled and combined together, then that will be a composite supply. Again, there are 3 schedules to GST Act. Schedule 1, it says about transactions which will be deemed as supply. Schedule 2 is the classification schedule, which classifies activities as supply of goods or supply of services. In that schedule 2, it is mentioned that any treatment or process which is applied to another person's goods is a supply of service. Any treatment or process applied to another person's goods, that is job work, is a service. Okay. Now it is a service. reading with composite supply, that whole transaction becomes a supply of service. Because it's a composite supply, predominant supply is the supply of service, entire transaction will become a supply of service. In case of a job work arrangement, entire activity becomes a supply of service. For example, I am giving a cloth to be stitched as shirt. While stitching, he will add buttons. The buttons is a goods, but that is basically he is rendering a service. As part of that services, he is adding goods. So it's a composite supply of service. If it is a service, then we have to see the SAC code. SAC code. Before going to this SAC code, we have to understand how we will apply this tariff. This is basically extracted from the notification, rate notification 11 bar 2017 notification. How will you read this notification? There are 4 columns in this: serial number, chapter heading, description, and rate. For applying this serial number, first we have to see the chapter heading. What is the chapter heading? 9988. So the activity which we are dealing with, that has to first fall within this 9988. Only then we have to see the description of service, whether it is falling with this description. So what is the explanatory note for this 9988? I'm just taking this 998 explanatory note to SAC code says that 9988 manufacturing services on physical input owned by others. These services under this heading include 9988 are performed on physical inputs owned by units other than the units providing service. As such, they are characterized as outsourced portion of manufacturing process or a complete outsourced manufacturing process. Either it could be part of manufacturing process or it could be a complete manufacturing process also. That is why I mentioned earlier that manufacturing is also part of job work. Job work includes portion of manufacturing or complete manufacturing. Output not owned by the unit providing such service. Therefore, the value of service in this heading is based on the service fee paid and not the value of goods manufactured. This is the chapter heading 9988. So in this chapter heading, important point is that there has to be a manufacturing or a part of manufacturing process. This is why earlier we mentioned that repairs and service activity will not fall under job work. Why? Because there is neither manufacturing nor part of manufacturing activity. It is only a repairs and maintenance service. Though it is a treatment or process, there is no manufacturing or part of manufacturing. Whereas in the sugar, when I am sending the shaft and he is putting the roller into that and giving back to me, there is a manufacturing process involved. Hence, that should be a job work. This is my reason. Now, various tariff heading I have mentioned. In this, we are not going to, due to the lack of time, each entry we are not going. This is just extracted from the notification. One point, one amendment only I am going to stress upon because it is applicable from 1/1/2022. This textile, it is related to textile industry. Earlier, the position was that if the textile job work is done in a textile, wherein what is job work? The person who is giving the principal is registered. If the principal is registered and I am giving textile product for job work, the rate of tax applicable was 2.5%. That is 2.5 plus 2.5, 5%. If I am not registered, then it will not fall under job work. So there is a separate entry for that. Manufacturing services on physical inputs owned by others other than 1A, 1B, 1C, etc. and higher rate of tax is applicable. This was the earlier position. So if principal is registered, it was only 5%. If principal is not registered, then what is the rate of tax applicable? 18% was applicable. Then what they did is that they inserted 2 entries. Yes. This one, 3. This tailoring services. This tailoring services is not a job work service, it is just tailoring services. I may be registered, I may not be registered also. If I am registered, it will fall under job work. If I am not registered, it will fall under tailoring services. Tailoring services is also taxable at 5% only. So for in case of non-registered also, they reduce the rate to 5%. In this way, both registered and registered were given a parallel space wherein the rate of tax will be 5%. Now, the amendment I mentioned is that except for dyeing and printing, this word has been inserted. So what happens is that if I am registered and if I am giving the service, I am giving job or services to him related to this dyeing or printing, then that will not fall under this description. It will not be 2.5%.
It's kept in pending, sir.
Sir,
No, that is not implemented, sir.
I think the notification is already effective, no?
But I think something is subsequently withdrawn, sir.
It is withdrawn.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that may.
We protest against that.
There was.
They included printing. By wrongly, they included printing. Actually, dying people welcome it.
Okay.
But printing is included.
Okay.
After that protest, it is withheld, sir.
It is withheld. Okay. I found this notification, but the withholding notification I could not find. Sir has told that it is withdrawn. So currently, it is also still 5% only. Suppose this notification is not there, what will happen is that it will be taxed at 6%. That is,
Yes.
services by way of job work other than 1A, 1B, etc. It will get taxed at 12%. That is 6 plus 6, 12%. So other than dyeing, etc., all other will be taxed at 5%. If this notification comes into effect, dyeing and printing will get taxed at 6%. Tailoring services, whether registered or not, unregistered, etc., it is taxable only at 5%. This is only the time permits to cover this much in classification. Remaining, there is not much complexity related to this entries. Now imagine other than this textiles, other than these entries which are given, if the principal is registered, the principal who is sending the goods is registered, that will be taxed at lower rate. And if he is not registered, that will cover under this clause 6, that is manufacturing services on physical goods owned by others other than 1A, 1B, etc. That will be taxed at higher rate of 18%. That is the only point which I want to convey by this way of this circular. Circular says that circular is giving distinction between registered and unregistered. If the person who is sending the goods is registered, that will be covered under the job work. So either 5% or 12%. If he is not registered, it will be taxable at 18%. That is one important point which has to be seen at the time of classification.
Registered job worker, unregistered.
No, sir, principal. Forget about the job worker. Principal we have to see. Person who is sending the goods. If he is registered, if I am registered, Prasad will have to charge 5% from me. Otherwise, Prasad will have to charge 18% from me. The registration condition is for the person who is sending the goods, not the job worker. Rate of tax arises only when the job worker is registered. Only then he has to pay GST. So 2 minutes I am taking for documentation. First I am taking it process by process. First, principal is sending the goods to the job worker. My supplier is giving me invoice and he is sending me goods. Those goods I am sending to Prasad for job work. I have to prepare 3 copies of challan. 2 copies I have to give to Prasad. 1 copy Prasad can retain. After the job work is over, along with the other copy, Prasad has to give the goods back to me. Prasad also has to I have to raise an e-way bill while sending the goods to Prasad. Prasad also has to raise an e-way bill at the time of sending the finished product back to me. He will actually deal with the issues relating to e-way bill. Now, when the goods are directly sent to the job worker, now I am not in the picture. Supplier is sending the goods directly to the job worker. Now it is very important. supplier has to bill the goods to me. Billing address is my address, billing name is my name, my GST number has to be mentioned, as well as job worker's address has to be also mentioned in that bill. That is first thing. Second thing, I have to give a challan to Prasad. For job, while sending the goods directly also, I have to send a challan to Prasad. Now, Prasad is sending the goods to another job worker for subsequent job work. What he has to do? There are two options given. Either I can give another challan to second job worker. Suppose I know the other job worker. On my instructions, the goods are going to the other job worker. I can give another challan to the job worker. An e-way bill, I can mention that it is moving from Prasad's place to another job worker's place. Suppose it is a sub job work by him. I don't know who he is giving to another job worker. What he can do is that the challan which I am giving, he can endorse the challan and give to the other job worker also. There may be situations where I know the second job worker. There may be situations where I don't know the second job worker. So without knowing the other job worker, it is not possible for me to give a challan. In such cases, he can endorse the challan which is given by me to the second job worker. Like that, he can move to n number of job workers. What happens when the goods are returned back within the time limit? If the goods are received back within this one year time limit, then he has to return the goods. I am giving him 2 copies. Out of that 1 copy, he has to endorse it back to me. When sending the goods back to me, he has to send 1 copy of that challan, his invoice for job work services, along with e-way bill, he has to send it back to me. Once I have received the goods, the principal has to file a return also. This is very important. ITC 04. How many people are having job work? Actually, customers who are having job work. How many of you are having clients who are having job work? So everyone is having. So how many of you has not filed ITC 04? Raise hands. I am also raising hands. I have also not filed this ITC 04.
Lot of information.
Sir,
each job worker one-to-one, that all details we have to fill.
Sir, forget about this PPT, sir. Talking frankly, sir, it is not possible for us to do that job, sir. It is better that their own staff is doing that job.
They are also not possible.
They are.
They have to link
Who
here.
moves through 10 to 12 hours?
Yes, sir.
And no one knows from where, when it went. Even the owner, he doesn't know.
He knows it. Right? That is the process. That is the problem. And how much wastage, etc. It is asking. How we know, sir? We are not magicians, sir. We are chartered accountants only. It is asking for so much details we don't know. That is the problem. Practically, I have not seen anyone also who has filed a single ITC 04. But law says that this ITC 04 has to be filed. One funny thing is that earlier it was quarterly. Then they made it now half yearly for this thing. Then there is also one annual provision. Next thing they say no ITC 04, that is better. So they gave exemption till 18, I think. Up to 2017-18 they gave exemption. No need to file ITC 04. Then from 18 to somewhere in 19 October they said quarterly. From 19 October onwards it is actually half yearly and annually.
Is there any penalty for not paying?
Sir, general penalty will apply. That is the problem, sir. 50,000 general penalty is there. Specific penalty I did not find in the act.
Instead of paying to the auditor, we will pay the penalty.
That is the problem. The input, they can deny the input. One consequence, let us see the consequence now. What will happen? One consequence is that they can treat it, they can deny the input as credit, saying that whatever you have received the goods and you have taken the credit, goods may have directly gone to him. Now you have not declared it as job work. To the department, you have not declared. They can say that there was no such job work arrangement. You have not received the goods, you have taken the credit. You disallow the credit. First possible.
Report division, in fact, once they need refund.
Deleted refund. Delayed refund. Okay.
It kept pending for not filing.
For not filing ITC 0.
On record, they
Okay. That is the second consequence. That is the problem. One thing we can all do as association, what we can do is that we can file a RTA. Ask the government how many ITC 04 are actually being filed. Let them give an honest answer. I don't think anyone would have actually been possible to file this with correct data. Incorrect data, someone nil something would have been filed. Correct data, let us see how many people have filed. If it is not possible, why the government is expecting us to do this? Actually, we cannot do it. Trade community has to do this. They have to take this job.
They are not understanding the
Consequences. They will only come to us when either refund is denied or they receive a notice. Something. Next consequence is that, like Sir said, it can be in the supply also, because what is the proof that you have received it back within 1 year? Probably you will have the challan, etc., or you can create this challan, etc. But what is how you have declared it to the government? There is no proof. Thirdly, they can invoke this section 74 also. 74 suppression, because anything which is not declared, etc., they can treat it as willful suppression, and they can invoke 74 instead of 73. Then there is higher penalty, etc. All these higher time limit for issuing show cause notice. All these consequences will follow. That is the problem. I also don't have a solution to this, but this is the state of affair which I want to convey. Practically, it is not possible to file a single ITC 04. 1 month if you file also, next month it is going back to the previous month's figures, is showing as opening stock, etc. That itself is not matching. That is the next problem. How we are going to file this is a question mark. Anyhow, the law requires that ITC 04 has to be filed by the principal. What happens if the books is not actually received back within 1 year? Then the supplier, he will have to treat it as supply. Here again, there is one problem. The date you have to give for the date on which you are originally sending the goods to the job worker, but you can raise the bill only after the expiry of 1 year. So date will be previous date, serial number will be different. You have to declare only in that month in which it is exceeding this, this 1 year time limit, and you have to pay interest for 1 year. This is the consequence. If goods is not received within 1 year, you have to raise an invoice. Date of invoice should be old, predated invoice. Current period, you have to raise a predated invoice, and you have to pay along with interest. Declare in current month's GSTR 1 and show it in your GSTR 1, pay in GSTR 3B. Other person can take the credit. That is a job worker. If he is registered, he can take the credit. That is fine. Now, what happens when he returns the good back to me? Again, he has to treat it as sale only. Now I have sent the goods to him as sale. Now he has to again sell the goods back to me. So there has to be 2 sale transactions. Earlier there was no sale transaction. Now there is 2 sale transactions. Principal has to sell the goods to job worker. Job worker has to sell the finished goods back to the principal. And both of them has to show in their corresponding GSTR 1, reflect in GSTR 2A, take input as credit, etc. Now, what happens when the goods are directly cleared from job worker's premises to the customer? Who has to raise the invoice? Job worker has to raise invoice, I have to raise invoice. Principal only has to raise the invoice. Again, it is in a bill to ship to model. Bill from, I will be the person who is billing, but it will be shipping from job worker's premises. Again, for this, the condition that he has to be registered or additional place of business must be shown, etc. That is applicable. And job worker can send the final goods back to the customer. Again, nothing important in this. These are the contents of this challan. Nothing but your delivery challan. This challan is synonymous with delivery challan. It should have all the details mentioned in this delivery challan. There must be a serial number. Most importantly, there has to be a serial number.
Recently, I came across that rule 55, sir.
Yes, sir.
This format is applicable only for sending the finished goods from the place of the job worker to the customer.
What about for sending the input?
Otherwise, for other types of deliveries to the job worker, only normal plain these delivery challan is required.
Okay.
This format of delivery challan is required only for sending finished goods from the place of the job worker to the customer.
Is it in the notification?
That section in relation to that rule.
Okay.
That clearly specifies that.
So for sending the goods originally, there is no requirement for a serial number, etc. only for
Not serial number, sir. That taxable value,
taxable value. Okay.
HSL
But all the other particulars it has to be there.
Normal we can use for regular delivery for job work purpose. We can use regular DCs. This DC is only for sale.
Section 55 is applicable only when it is finally going to the customer.
From the place of the job worker.
From the place of job worker to the customer. And it has to be raised by the principal.
No, it is in the act, rule itself.
Rule itself. Okay. Thank you for sharing. This is ITC 04. So up to 39/2021, it was quarterly. From 1/10/2021, it is made half yearly in case of those who are having turnover less than 5 crore. Turnover more than 5 crore. And if the turnover is less than 5 crore, then it is annually. They have to file ITC 04 only in the annually. E-way bill compliance, Prasad will be dealing in detail. Detention of goods, I'll just touch upon and I'll give time for Prasad. Not going by the slide. Basically, detention of goods and confiscation takes place when during the movement of goods, there is some discrepancy. Discrepancy in the sense that either it is not accompanied with delivery challan DC, or it is not accompanied with invoice, or it is not accompanied with e-way bill, or there is some mismatch between the details in this invoice, etc., and the e-way bill. So earlier the provision was that in case of detention of goods, 100% of the tax was payable and 100% penalty was also applicable. Now they have amended the law. Instead of 100% tax and 100% penalty, 200% penalty has been implemented. So no tax has to be paid at the time of detention. Only 200% of tax has to be paid as penalty. Now, what is confiscation? What is confiscation of goods means? If there is an intention to evade tax, detention takes place when there is any contravention of the provisions of the Act. Word used is contravention of any provisions of the Act. Confiscation takes place when that contravention is colored with an intention to evade the payment of tax. So 130, 129 is detention, 130 is confiscation of goods. Goods can be confiscated, and for releasing the confiscated goods, we have to, apart from this penalty, we have to pay fee in lieu of confiscation also. To get these goods released from the department, we have to pay a fee in lieu of confiscation also. So this is a primary difference between detention and confiscation. Forms which they issue is more or less the same. This is MOV 01. You would have already heard these forms. For at the time of inspection, they will issue MOV 01, etc. Like MOV 07 is the show cause notice for detention. MOV 09 is the order for detention. Primarily, one thing we have to take care is that they issue a DRC 07. This DRC 07 is issued in the common portal, in your GSTN portal. Only if they issue GSTN portal, this DRC 07, only then you can file the appeal against these orders. Otherwise, you cannot file an appeal online. That is one point. So the department will always insist on paying in DRC 03. Whenever any vehicle is caught, first thing the officer will tell is that DRC 03 pay pannunga. We have to say that kindly issue DRC 07. Only if they issue DRC 07, we can file an appeal online. DRC 03 is voluntary payment. Voluntary payment, there is no option to file an appeal. This point kindly note, ensure. So this is only issues related to, and there is also option to get the goods released on bank guarantee. If it is detention of goods, we can get these goods released on bank guarantee also. We can get these goods released on bank guarantee, and then we have to go for an appeal. Now, pre-deposit for appeal was earlier 10% of the tax. For this detention cases alone, they have raised that pre-deposit to 25% of penalty. So now 200% penalty levy, of that 25% you have to pay as pre-deposit. This is another issue. Then there is another issue going on whether pre-deposit can be paid in cash or whether it can be paid through credit, etc. Of course, that is no more relevant because pre-deposit of penalty only they are insisting. So definitely it should be in cash only. They have to pay 25% pre-deposit also. So these are the points related to detention of goods. E-way bill aspect, Prasad will cover in detail. Practical aspects he will cover in detail. Any questions we can take after e-way bill also. Jointly, we can take up the question. I invite Prasad for the remaining session.
அனைவருக்கும் இனிய மாலை வணக்கம். நான் பிரசாத். நான் வந்து இப்போ இவே பில் பிரசன்ட் பண்ணதான் வந்திருக்கேங்கிறது இப்போதான் அவர் கடைசியா சொல்லும் போதுதான் நினப்பு வந்தது. கடைசியா ஒரு மணி நேரம் ஜாப் ஒர்க்கராகவே உட்கார வச்சுட்டாரு. 1 மணி நேரம் கூட ஜாப் ஒர்க்கரா இருக்க முடியலங்கிறது அப்பதான் புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டேன் நான். அதாவது திருப்பூர் வந்து அதாவது இந்த ஒரு நிமிஷம் வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப க்ளோஸ் டு மை ஹார்ட்டா ஃபீல் பண்றேன். ஏன்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் நான் ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்றேன். அதனால ஸோ ராமு சாருக்கு ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ். அப்புறம் சரவணன் சாருக்கும் ஐ லைக் டு ஹார்ட்ஃபுல் தேங்க்ஸ் டு. அப்புறம் என் கூட ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் ஷேர் பண்ணதுக்காக, ஜாப் ஒர்க்கராக வச்சிருந்ததுக்காக தேங்க்யூ சொல்றேன். e-way bill. E-way billன்றது வந்து it is an electronic way bill which is a 12-digit unique number. It is mainly for specific consignment involving the movement of goods. And it is also a compliance document which is a mandatory one for moving the goods from the place. In case of supply or in any other case other than supply, and also for unregistered person who are making the supplies also. It will be generated by the recipient from the end of recipient. E-way bill is section 68 of CGST Act mandates e-way bill, and with respect to rule 138 and other rules pertaining in this regard. And in GST regime, e-way bill was introduced with effect from, in case of interstate supplies, it is with effect from 1st April 2018. And in case of intrastate, it is in various dates for various states. In Tamil Nadu, it is on 2nd June 2018. And these are the regulations, rules and sections which mandates e-way bill. As said earlier, section 68 mandates e-way bill at the time of movement of goods, and rule 138, the information to be furnished before movement of goods and generation of e-way bill. And 138A is for documents and devices to be carried by the person in charge of conveyance. And rule 138B, verification of documents and conveyances. Rule 138C, inspection and verification of goods. 138D, facility for uploading information regarding detention of vehicles. Who has to issue e-way bill? E-way bill has to be issued by a registered person who causes movement of goods with a consignment value exceeding 50,000. But in Tamil Nadu, for intrastate supplies alone, the limit is 1 lakh. And this consignment value of 50,000 will be applicable for the transaction in relation to supply for reasons other than supply, like job work and other things. And in case of inward supplies made by an unregistered person. When to issue e-way bill? E-way bill has to be generated in form GST EW01 if the consignment value is above 50,000 for other states, and for interstate supply it is 50,000, and intrastate supply in Tamil Nadu alone it is 1 lakh. And in other cases, if the job work is sent for interstate movement, it is irrespective of value, the e-way bill has to be generated. And in case of handicraft goods, interstate movement, irrespective of value, the e-way bill has to be generated. What is consignment value? Consignment value, the value of the goods as per section 15, and it has to be added with IGST or CGST and SGST and the cess if any. Then if the invoice has both taxable and exempted supplies, the exempted portion has to be reduced from the consignment value to arrive the consignment value, whether it is beyond 1 lakh or within 1 lakh. And the validity of e-way bill, up to the distance of 200 kilometers, the validity period will be 1 day, and beyond 200 beyond 200 kilometers, for every 200 kilometer, additional day will be added. Cancellation and acceptance of e-way bill. Cancellation by the person who generated e-way bill has to be done within 24 hours. The acceptance has to be done by the recipient within 72 hours. If he fails to accept or reject the e-way bill generated against him, it will be deemed as accepted if it surpasses 72 hours. And e-way bill exemptions. As said, if the consignment value is within 50,000 or 1 lakh, e-way bill is exempted. And the goods specified in annexure to Rule 138, like jewelry items, liquefied petroleum. So those items is covered under this annexures. So it will be exempted. And the non-motorized conveyances. If any goods transmitted to non-motorized conveyances, the e-way bill is exempted. In case of goods transmitted from customs port, airport, air cargo complex, land customs station to an inland container depot or container freight station for clearance by custom, this will be exempted. And for non-GST supplies like petroleum and alcohol for human consumption, e-way bill will be exempted. Then the goods not treated as supply as per Schedule 3 of CGST Act. For those items, this will be e-way bill exemption is provided. And if the goods is transmitted to Nepal or Bhutan, or from Nepal or Bhutan, e-way bill is not required. And for goods exempted from tax as per notification 7, e-way bill exemption is provided by the government. And for defense items, concern of goods being central government, state government, or the authority, local authority for transport of goods by rail, e-way bill is exempted. And for empty cargo containers, shifting the empty cargo containers, e-way bill is not required. And if the transportation is within 20 kilometers, if the vehicle with goods is sent for weigh scale for making the weight, to checking the weight, the e-way bill is not required. And the practical aspects, how to generate the e-way bill. This is a screenshot from the e-way bill portal. We have two options, one outward or inward, and the subtype as supply, export, job work, etc. The government has given two options. The document type can be tax invoice, delivery challan, or bill of supply. There are 2-3 options. And under transaction type, there are 4 types: regular, bill to ship to, bill from dispatch from, and combination of bill to ship to and bill from dispatch from. This is regular. First of all, in regular, the bill from will be the supplier by himself, and the bill to will be the direct customer. There will be only 2 persons involved in this transaction. So the other details will be same. There won't be any difference. Once the GST number has been entered, automatically the registered address will be auto-populated here. This cannot be changed. Since it is bill to ship to here, the address of ship to address cannot be changed. It has to be the same address which has been mentioned in the registered GST portal. This is regular type. And this one is bill to ship to. Here, the bill from will be the supplier. Bill to will be the recipient who buys the goods from this supplier. The ship to will be the person on behalf of whom the goods will be received. On behalf of recipient, he will be receiving the goods. So here the address can be that the third party's address. Ship to address can be that address. This is bill to ship to. And next one is bill from and dispatch from. Bill from is the supplier. Dispatch from maybe his warehouse or some other additional place. The bill 2 will be the customer himself and no other. Here the 3 persons will be involved: supplier, sorry, 2 persons, the supplier and the customer. In addition to that, the goods will be dispatched from another place. And the last one is combination of second and third, that is bill to, ship to, and bill from, dispatch from. Here the bill from bill will be done by the supplier. Goods will be dispatched from the additional place or some other place of the supplier. Bill to will be the recipient, and the goods will be delivered to the other person, like a job worker of the recipient. The goods will be dispatched to him. And this is part B of the e-way bill, where we will be mentioning the transporter ID and the mode of transport and vehicle numbers. That's it. We are receiving more than in a week we are receiving more than 5 notices in regard to the goods detention, because mainly the silly mistakes is made by our customers. Like they will be making errors in the values or invoice numbers, or in some cases they will be sending the goods without e-way bill, and once the goods has been detained by the officer, the e-way will be generated later and it will be given. So those type of things will not be accepted here. So e-way bill has to be taken care. That's